CB and I started birding a couple of years ago for something to do during the pandemic. Remember when that happened? Yeah. So anyway, we got obsessed and became actual birders, hunting down our prey and shooting them with our Nikon Z50s. And then shortly before attending a bird festival in Tucson, we decided that the main target to get checked off our life list would be something called an Elegant Trogon. It's a magnificent multicolored bird that croaks like a frog and lives up in the Sky Island mountain ranges of southern Arizona. So off we went, spending vacation time hunting the beast to no avail, until it eventually became a running joke. We even moved practically to Mexico to live in that supposedly Trogon-infested world-class birding area, and still no Trogon for us. It was like we were tracking Bigfoot or something. Don't get me wrong, we were seeing a ton of awesome birds and other wildlife during these excursions, and having a blast along the way. But I mean, what the We hiked up canyons all over the state, running into tourists from New York, Jersey, Michigan, and everywhere else, and they'd all seen the thing. One couple looked for only 5 minutes and had success. And one guy saw one without even leaving the parking lot. We heard the same stories everywhere we went. Once we drove all the way to Portal, Arizona, 2 or 3 hours away, and hiked into the South Fork Canyon after hearing reports that they were there all morning. Every hiker coming down the hill said, "It's right up ahead, you can't miss it." You guessed it, we got there 5 minutes too late. A pair of them flew off literally 5 minutes before we arrived at the nesting area. So 2 days later, we drove all the way back, except really early this time, learning from our last attempt. Smart. So we get all the way up there, and again, we were 5 minutes too late. You know, we were like 4 or 5 hours earlier, but still 5 minutes too late. One couple from Philly was totally rooting for us after seeing us up there the previous trip and hearing all of our Trogon failure stories.
He's gotten away once again.
When we missed it again, the guy was actually trying not to laugh as I reported yet another trip of futility. They had to be thinking, we just met the worst birders on the planet. At that point, I was starting to think they really didn't exist, but we pressed on, hiking further up the canyon. We were all alone at that point, and on the way down the hill, we actually stopped in our tracks, staring at each other as we heard the unmistakable croaking in the distance. We couldn't believe our ears, so we started to creep quietly toward the Trogon call, when suddenly we heard this huge explosion of noise that sounded like a tree being felled. A few minutes later, a fellow bird nerd struggling with camera gear the size of a Volkswagen came stumbling out of the woods all sad and disappointed, covered in twigs and dirt and leaves and shame. He said he climbed up on a rock to get a shot of the same bird and fell off into a pile of leaves and brush. Obviously, the bird didn't hang around for us after that, so we headed home pathetically once again.
And once again, hiking up the trail, a bunch of people saw the Elegant Trogon. But when we got there, gone.
A couple of weeks later, though, we decided to hit Madera Canyon really early, and we were indeed the first ones up the trail. Madera is basically in our backyard, so we got there at sunrise no problem. It was a perfect day weather-wise, still and not too hot, and before we even got a quarter mile up the trail, CB heard the faint, unmistakable call of our bird. We headed up the mountain and then turned off down a game trail to the wash and saw a couple of sulfur-bellied flycatchers chasing each other around. And then suddenly I saw a flash of red dive into the giant sycamore in front of us. I assumed it was just a cardinal until I got my binos focused on it, and I couldn't believe it.
We got the Elegant Trogon. Can you believe it? We finally did it. Yay! Elegant Trogon. Bam!
It was a full-color male with his girlfriend, no less. And to top it all off, they posed for us in the trees and on the ground for a good 30 minutes. Looks like they were considering the big sycamore as a nest site. Definitely worth the wait and one of our most memorable birding adventures to date. Birds, Ringy out.